did a social media application, and I am Alex Pecoraro. I don't have a creative name for this yet, so still working on that. A little bit about my process. So basically, I started off with a persona. Then I jumped into mid fidelity prototype mode or wireframing using Figma. Then I decided to do usability testing, and I used two individuals in that test. And then I created a high fidelity prototype as my final deliverable. So, a little bit about the application. So, basically, what I designed here was an intercompany social media platform. Basically, it allows users to create a profile. In it, they can put their job title, the skills they have, the current projects they're working on, and add some stuff about their personality as well. There's also a newsfeed where it is only for people within your company, but you can see stuff they're working on, projects, really anything anyone wants to talk about can be put on the newsfeed. Then you have a chance to connect with colleagues. So there is a connection aspect to this as well, where you have followers and you are following people. And then there is a direct messaging component as well. So you can direct message colleagues on here if needed. So a little bit about the persona and kind of how this came about. So for my persona, I focused on Kayla, and Kayla is a software engineer at a very large company. In this case, it's Apple. Basically, from a goal standpoint, she just started there. She's trying to work on new projects within her organization. She feels like a lot of the projects are just siloed into her group, and she's wanting to expand the project she's working on a bit. She wants to find a career mentor that can really kickstart her career and tell her what path she should take within her company. She'd also like to start some interest groups in her own company, women in STEM, that sort of thing. And then she'd like to share her successes, her work successes, both with her immediate team, but others within the organization. And she'd also like to hear about others and the successes they're having. Some of the frustrations. So Kayla has never really seen anything out of her immediate development team from a work standpoint. She only gets her development tickets, but never sees what else is going on within the organization that she could potentially work on. She feels like she's hit a career plateau. She doesn't really have anyone to talk to about next steps, and really she'd like to really find a mentor here who could jumpstart her career. She feels like there's a lack of work culture in her immediate group. Her co-workers aren't really going out anymore. They're not really participating in things outside of the organization. And she'd like to find people who have similar interests who'd like to participate in these things with her as well. She feels like it's intimidating to send out company-wide Slack messages that everyone can see. She likes kind of the being able to just direct message someone and not have to send it out for an entire company to see this. And then, she's got a skill gap for some projects she'd like to start and really wants to find, who in the organization could help kickstart some of these projects that she's been wanting to start, but she doesn't have the skills for it as of right now. All right. So as I said, there's a newsfeed and profile creation component. So Kayla wants to see what other projects colleagues are working on. She'd like to share her successes and hear about others. So basically, I did a mid-fidelity prototype. I designed a flow for a newsfeed and a profile that showcases the work experience this person would have along with some of the projects. Basically, as I said before, I did do usability testing on the mid-fidelity prototype. It was moderated and in person. And most people did not realize the edit icon was the entry point into creating or editing your profile. So right here, this was missed quite a bit. And then this is the actual profile. So basically, I took that mid-fidelity design feedback and turned it into a high-fidelity prototype. And here you can see I just have this edit icon above the face now. There's not a plus sign and an edit sign, which I thought was confusing to users. So instead, there's just this edit icon here when you're editing your profile. This is the feed, high fidelity. You can see here, like these are all the things that you can edit as a user or Kayla. This is the actual profile, what it looks like to others within their company. So you can toggle between edit mode and public view to see what your profile would look like as you're editing it in here. And then this is actually adding project details. So like if you click any of these edits, it jumps into this portion. So in this instance, Kayla had hit the profile edit right here, and we're in project details. You can toggle between these to edit your job details, skill details, personality, and you can also edit your wall as well. So basically, this is the messaging component as well. So Kayla felt intimidated sending company-wide visible messages in Slack. So basically, I designed a flow for direct colleague messaging, where you can send messages to anyone within the organization that you're connected with. During usability testing, one user went to colleagues first before going to the messages to delete a message thread with John Smith. So basically, the usability issue is there was no labels associated with these icons. So I basically, in the high fidelity, what I did was I went in and added labels to all my icons so no one could get confused about where they were located at any given time. So this is the high fidelity for messages. Basically, you can see here, these are all the messages that you've been sent. You have your team members here, so you can go into quick messaging. But clicking on, basically, if you swipe the messages, you can delete them or mute from someone if you don't want to hear from them. And then basically from clicking this, you're going into compose a new message. In this case, this user has clicked Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, the message for Steve Jobs comes up here. You'll see his name in the compose. And then this is what the actual message thread looks like with Steve. And then finally, it gives you a chance, this app gives you a chance to connect with colleagues. So Kayla, her persona, she was interested in finding a career mentor within the organization. So I designed a flow for connecting with work colleagues, and in this case, it could be someone that Kayla has seen a profile and she's interested in having that person's career and connecting with them and messaging them to meet for coffee or set up a meeting. So basically, I designed a flow for connecting with colleagues. During usability testing, one user went to followers first when they were trying to connect with a new work colleague. So basically, the usability issue was just not apparent where someone would go to connect with new colleagues on here. So to fix that, I added an explore option here, which may or may not, I'd have to retest this, but may be a little bit more visible that you have to go down here and actually, you could search colleagues to connect with them. You could jump into different departments to see a whole entire list of who's in that department to connect with them as well. And then it also offers some potential connections based on your past search criteria that could be relevant to you as well. So that is how you do that. And then this is a connection request where you can either delete or you can accept that connection request as well. So yeah, that's my social media app. Still working on a title, but I appreciate it. All right, thanks so much, guys. That won't work at all.